Strategy number 1. Assign students to practice the thinking skills you want. To strengthen thinking abilities, practice needs to be frequent, challenging, and specifically targeted to the desired cognitive processes, whether those be critical thinking, formal reasoning, identifying deep structure, solving problems, analyzing arguments, or some combination of these. For this activity that we're going to do, we're going to be specifically looking at correlation and causation. So here you can see I have a graph, and the correlation is pretty strong between the number of people who died by becoming tangled in their bed sheets and the total revenue generated by skiing facilities. This is an example of correlation. It's a measurement of the strength and direction of the relationship between two or more variables. Here is another example. Here we have the age of Miss America, and it correlates pretty well to murders by steam, hot vapors, and hot objects between 1999 and 2009. Here's a look at the divorce rates in Maine, correlating very strongly to per capita consumption of margarine in the United States. These examples are meant to be humorous. You're supposed to look at this and see that, yes, they do correlate extremely well, but there's no causal effect. There's nothing that says the divorce rates in Maine are causing the per capita consumption of margarine or vice versa. Doesn't mean, more margarine you eat, the more likely you are to get divorced. There is no causal relationship between these. Causation indicates a similar but different relationship between variables, namely that one variable produces an effect on another variable or causes it. And just because things correlate very well does not mean that there is a causal relationship. And it is a very common mistake in thinking when you get confused between causation and correlation. I can give you an example. You probably heard a lot of people talking about how vaccines cause autism. It is true that the number of vaccines has gone up and the number of people diagnosed with autism has gone up. There is a correlation effect between those two. But that does not necessarily mean that there is a causation. One of them is not necessarily causing the other. And it's a very easy mistake to make to think that there is some sort of causal relationship. So that's why we want to practice our critical thinking skills, specifically when it comes to correlation and causation, so we do not make the same mistakes. So just sloppy thinking when you get these two confused. So for this strategy, we're going to practice some of these thinking skills. So I have set up an interactive lesson on correlation and causation. You'll want to click the link below, and then it'll take you to this page here where you just enter your name and join the lesson. The lesson's about 30 minutes long, and it is interactive, so you will be practicing these skills. And when you're done, get you to come back to the discussion page and answer one or more of these questions. Question number 1, explain how practicing this critical thinking skill in the interactive lesson may give students a better understanding of correlation and causation. Number 2, give an example of a method you could use to practice critical thinking skills in an online environment. And there is another question inside the lesson itself if you'd like to answer that one. So that is strategy number 1, assign students to practice the thinking skills you want. In this strategy, we're going to be practicing thinking about correlation and causation. Look forward to seeing your posts in the discussion forum.